The arena lights dimmed and the crowd erupted into absolute chaos as CM Punk's entrance music hit on Monday Night Raw, but nobody could have predicted what was about to unfold next. What started as another electric night of WWE entertainment quickly transformed into one of the most shocking and violent confrontations in recent wrestling history when Punk set his sights on Logan Paul in a brutal attack that left the entire WWE universe stunned and scrambling for their phones to capture every single moment. If you want to stay updated on all the craziest moments in WWE, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss what happens next. The tension had been building for weeks between these two superstars, with Logan Paul running his mouth on social media and during backstage interviews about how CM Punk was past his prime and couldn't handle the new generation of wrestlers who were taking over the company. Paul had been on an absolute roll since his return to WWE programming, racking up impressive wins and generating massive heat with the crowd through his cocky attitude and social media antics that blurred the lines between his online persona and his wrestling character. Every week he would post videos mocking the veterans of the industry, calling them has-beens and claiming that influencers like himself were the real future of professional wrestling because they brought millions of eyeballs from outside the traditional fan base. CM Punk had remained relatively quiet throughout most of these provocations, focusing on his matches and his rivalry with other opponents on the Raw roster. But those who knew Punk's history understood that his silence wasn't weakness or fear, it was the calm before an inevitable storm that would leave destruction in its wake. Punk has never been one to forget disrespect, and he certainly wasn't going to let some YouTube star turned wrestler belittle everything he had accomplished during his legendary career that spanned multiple promotions and championship reigns. The night started normally enough with several matches already in the books and the crowd fully engaged with the action they were witnessing. Logan Paul was scheduled for a segment where he would address his upcoming championship opportunity, and he walked out to a chorus of deafening boos that shook the entire building. Paul seemed to feed off the negative energy as he grabbed a microphone and strutted around the ring with that signature smirk plastered across his face, soaking in every bit of hatred the audience was directing his way. He started cutting a promo about how he had proven all the doubters wrong and demonstrated that he belonged at the top of the WWE hierarchy alongside the greatest performers in the business. Paul bragged about his athletic ability, his social media following, and his ability to generate more buzz than anyone else on the entire roster combined. Then he made the fatal mistake that would seal his fate for the evening when he specifically called out CM Punk by name, saying that Punk was nothing more than a bitter old man who couldn't accept that his time had passed and that the spotlight now belonged to people like Logan Paul who understood how to connect with modern audiences. The crowd immediately began chanting for Punk, their voices growing louder with each passing second as they anticipated his arrival. Paul laughed mockingly and told them to chant all they wanted because Punk wasn't even in the building tonight and probably couldn't handle the truth that was being spoken about him. He continued his verbal assault, claiming that Punk's best days were behind him and that if they ever stepped into the ring together, it would be a one-sided beatdown that would expose the so-called legend as nothing more than an overrated performer who got by on cult popularity rather than actual skill. That's when the familiar static sound hit the speakers and the opening notes of Cult of Personality began blaring throughout the arena. The explosion of noise from the fans was absolutely deafening as CM Punk emerged from behind the curtain with a look of pure rage etched across his face. There was no smile, no acknowledgement of the crowd's support, just cold determination in his eyes as he marched down the ramp with purpose and intensity that sent chills down everyone's spine. Logan Paul's cocky demeanor instantly shifted as he realized his words had summoned exactly what he claimed he wanted but clearly wasn't prepared for. He started backpedaling toward the ropes, telling Punk to calm down and handle this like a professional while simultaneously calling for security to come down and maintain order. But Punk wasn't interested in talking or waiting for any official confrontation to be scheduled by WWE management. He slid into the ring with explosive speed and immediately charged at Paul, who barely had time to drop the microphone before the assault began. Punk connected with a thunderous right hand that sent Paul stumbling backward into the corner turnbuckle. Before Paul could even attempt to defend himself or escape, Punk was already unleashing a relentless barrage of punches and kicks that came so fast and furious that the referee couldn't even get between them to restore any semblance of order. Each strike landed with vicious intent as Punk channeled weeks of pent-up frustration and anger into every single blow that connected with Paul's body and face. The crowd was going absolutely insane, chanting Punk's name and counting along with each devastating shot he delivered. Paul tried desperately to cover up and protect himself, but Punk was operating on a completely different level of intensity, grabbing him by the head and delivering a series of brutal knee strikes to the midsection that doubled Paul over in pain. Punk then grabbed him and executed a perfect snap suplex that planted Paul hard on the mat, but instead of going for a pin or releasing his opponent, Punk immediately pulled him back up and delivered another one, then another, completing a trio of suplexes that left Paul writhing in agony. Security personnel finally started flooding the ring from all directions, attempting to pull Punk away from his target and create separation between the two competitors. But Punk was like a man possessed, fighting off security guards and shoving them aside as he continued his assault on Logan Paul, who was now barely able to defend himself. It took at least 8 security members and several WWE officials to finally restrain Punk and drag him toward the ropes, but even then he was fighting against their grip and trying to break free to continue his attack. Just when everyone thought the situation was finally under control, Punk managed to break free from the security team's grasp with an explosive burst of energy that caught everyone off guard. He rushed back across the ring, and before anyone could stop him, he lifted Logan Paul up onto his shoulders in position for his signature move. The arena absolutely erupted because everyone knew what was coming next, and despite the chaos and the officials screaming at him to stop, Punk delivered a devastating GTS, his finishing maneuver, that connected flush with Paul's jaw and sent him crashing to the mat like a ton of bricks. The impact was sickening, and the crowd's reaction was a mixture of shock and excitement as Logan Paul lay motionless in the center of the ring. Medical staff immediately rushed to his side while security once again swarmed Punk, this time with reinforcements who managed to successfully escort him out of the ring and up the ramp. But Punk wasn't done sending his message, as he turned around at the top of the stage and pointed directly at the fallen Paul while making a championship belt gesture around his waist, indicating that their business was far from finished. Backstage interviews captured later in the night showed various WWE superstars reacting to what they had just witnessed. Some expressed shock at the level of violence Punk had displayed, while others admitted that Logan Paul had been pushing buttons and asking for exactly what he got. Several veterans nodded approvingly, suggesting that Paul needed to learn there were consequences for disrespecting the people who paved the way for performers like him to even have opportunities in WWE. The medical update on Logan Paul indicated he had suffered significant bruising and possible injury from the attack, though WWE officials stated he would undergo further evaluation to determine the full extent of the damage. Social media absolutely exploded in the aftermath, with the video clip spreading across every platform imaginable and generating millions of views within the first hour. Hashtags related to the attack were trending worldwide as fans debated whether Punk had gone too far or if Paul deserved every bit of what happened to him. WWE management released a statement addressing the situation and announcing that there would be serious consequences for the unauthorized attack that took place on Raw. They emphasized that while emotions run high in the heat of competition, there are rules and protocols that must be followed to ensure performer safety and maintain professional standards. However, the statement also hinted that this confrontation had created undeniable interest in a potential match between CM Punk and Logan Paul, suggesting that WWE would explore ways to capitalize on the incredible buzz this incident had generated. The wrestling community at large weighed in with their perspectives on the situation. Veteran wrestlers and industry legends took to their podcasts and social media platforms to discuss the attack, with most expressing understanding of Punk's actions given the level of disrespect Paul had shown. They pointed out that in the old days of wrestling, talking trash about established stars would inevitably lead to exactly this kind of receipt being delivered, and perhaps Paul needed to learn that lesson the hard way to gain proper respect for the business. Logan Paul himself eventually posted on social media from his hospital room, sporting visible bruises and looking worse for wear but maintaining his defiant attitude. He claimed that Punk's attack proved he was afraid of facing him in an actual sanctioned match where Paul could prepare and fight back properly. He challenged Punk to meet him in the ring under official circumstances where they could settle their differences like real competitors instead of Punk resorting to ambush tactics when Paul wasn't ready for a fight. This challenge immediately set the wrestling world on fire with speculation about whether WWE would book this dream match and under what circumstances it would take place. Fans began fantasy booking potential scenarios, with some suggesting it should be saved for a major premium live event, while others argued that the iron was hot and WWE should strike quickly with the match on the next Raw or SmackDown. The debate raged across every wrestling forum and social media platform as anticipation built for how this situation would ultimately be resolved. CM Punk appeared on WWE programming the following week and addressed the attack without showing any remorse whatsoever. He stated that Logan Paul needed to understand that WWE wasn't social media where he could say whatever he wanted without consequences. Punk explained that respect is earned in this business through years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication to the craft, not by accumulating followers and generating clicks through controversy. He made it clear that if WWE wanted to make the match official, he was more than ready to finish what he started and teach Paul a lesson he would never forget. The buzz surrounding this feud has breathed new life into Monday Night Raw's ratings and social media engagement numbers, with WWE clearly benefiting from the mainstream attention that both CM Punk and Logan Paul bring to any storyline they're involved in. The company has masterfully worked this situation to generate maximum interest while leaving fans desperate to see how it all plays out in the coming weeks. Whether this leads to a match at the next premium live event or becomes a longer-term storyline that builds toward an even bigger payoff remains to be seen, but one thing is absolutely certain after that brutal attack. The collision between CM Punk and Logan Paul has created one of the hottest feuds in WWE right now, and fans cannot wait to see what happens when these two finally meet in an official capacity with a referee, rules, and everything on the line. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on every development in this incredible story, because things are only going to get more intense from here, and you definitely don't want to miss a single moment of what promises to be an unforgettable rivalry that will be talked about for years to come.